Welcome to the Grow Your Independent Consulting Business podcast. I'm Melisa Liberman, a fellow IC and business coach. On this podcast, I teach you to become a consistently booked independent consultant without becoming a pushy salesperson or working 24/7. If I can do it, you can too. Listen on to find out how. When you think about your consulting business goals, what's the first thought that comes to your mind? Not edited. What is the first thought that comes to your mind? For most consultants, it's something like, I hope I can make them happen. We'll see if I can make these business goals happen. I'm trying to make these business goals happen. What is yours? What is your first thought that comes to your mind? Because when we think these things like, I hope they'll happen, I'm trying to make them happen, I'm not sure if they'll happen, this way of thinking might seem really harmless. You might not even realize you have this way of thinking. Most of us don't. It's subconscious. But this is what is slowing down your progress. This way of thinking is what makes a plateau for you. This way of thinking creates you underachieving in your consulting business. And we don't want that to happen for you. So on today's episode, I'm going to show you what this type of thinking is, what impact it's having for you in your consulting business, and how to break the pattern before this way of thinking costs you not hitting your goals for another quarter or even this whole year. We don't want that to happen. So let's dive into the episode and help you to redirect so that you set yourself up to hit the goals and start moving beyond what you even think is possible in your business. So welcome to episode 272 of the Grow Your Independent Consulting Business podcast. This is Melisa Liberman, and today we're talking about the difference between consultants who hit their numbers and what they don't do and what they do instead. And it may be surprising to you because so often we focus on the actions that those consultants might be taking or the head start that they may have had when they came into this business. Like maybe they had business development experience beforehand. And we think about all these things that other consultants are doing that we're not and why they might be making more money than we're making. But at the end of the day, in working with so many consultants every single day as part of what I do as a business owner, I see the difference comes down to what we're talking through today foundationally. And I want to help you put this into action in your business and also to be aware of where you're holding yourself back and not even realizing it. So that's what we're up to here on this episode. The agenda. First, I'll share with you the companion resource. Again, we're going to be talking a fairly heavy mindset related topic here today. And I want to make sure that you can make this practical and actionable. And so I'll share with you a companion resource that will help you to do that. Then we're going to talk about what is it? What is holding you back? What holds most consultants back? I'll walk you through what that is. And then I'm going to give you 3 examples. One example that's related to goal setting, another one that's related to your pipeline, the way you're thinking could be holding back your pipeline, and then another example that's related to your pricing and the way you're thinking can be holding back the way that you're pricing and how much you're pricing your engagements for. And then we're going to wrap it up with what I call the inevitability tests and with specific steps to put this episode into action. So that is our agenda for today. First, let's talk about that companion resource. It is the Business Brain Journal. This is a 100-day Business Brain guided journal that I've built for you specifically as an independent consultant. It walks you through the 6 key mindsets that are required to be successful and to hit the goals that you've set for yourself and move beyond those goals into a business that you might not even have realized is possible for you as an independent. So go grab that Business Brain Journal. There is so much benefit from physically writing out and allowing your brain to process in that way. And so that's why it is a physical book that you can buy. It's on Amazon, but you can find it at growthatlas.solutions. That's growthatlas.solutions. You'll see the products that I've got there and can go grab that Business Brain Journal and put this as part of your business owner thinking time. Okay, so with that, let's now talk about what is holding back consultants, so many consultants, from being able to achieve the goals that you've set for yourself. And it comes down to what I'll call the 3 belief stages. So again, foundationally, the way that you're operating your business is all comes down to the way that you're thinking. And from that place, that foundational place, it influences what you're willing to try and what you're not, what pricing you're willing to propose and what you're not, what type of engagements you're willing to pursue and what you're not, what type of potential clients you're willing to uncover and what you're not. This all comes down to, at the heart of it, the way that you're thinking. And what influences the way that you're thinking are these 3 belief stages that I'll share with you now. And the 3 stages are doubtful, hopeful, and inevitable. So let's break down each one of these and you'll see, I'll share with you what they sound like and then the impact of, in one of the particular stages. And then again, I'm going to help you to apply this to your own business by walking through those 3 specific examples so that you can see what this looks like in practice and how to move from one stage to the next to the ultimately to the inevitability stage. So let's start with the doubtful stage. It sounds like I'm not sure this will work for me. I'm not sure I can hit this goal, but I'll try anyway. Or I'm not sure I can hit this goal, but I'll set it. And then if I need to, I'll revise it. That's what it sounds like when you've got a doubtful mindset relative to your hitting your consulting goals. And the impact of this doubtful, it might sound practical, right? Well, I should feel doubtful. I don't have evidence right now that I can make $500,000 or 750 or a million. It might sound practical or reasonable to think in this way. It's just the reality. But the truth is, when we think this way, I'm not sure this will work for me, or I'm not sure I could hit that goal, or I'll try, but we'll try and see. Those kinds of thought processes, which again, oftentimes are very subconscious. And so I gave you that little test when we first started the episode. They have such an incredible impact on what you're doing. When you think this way, you hedge. You hedge on making decisions. You tiptoe in. You try to generate leads, for example. And when you don't get fairly immediate results, you change your approach or you redecide. You cede control to referrals or word of mouth, or even not taking control over the timing of the work that you're landing. You're treating your business as something you're trying, not something you're actively responsible for. And it's so common in this phase, right? And I've been here. We get here when we first start our business, or maybe after that honeymoon period when we first start our business. We get there when we start shifting our pricing. We get there when we start changing the nature of the work that we're going after. We get there when we start a new lead gen path. Maybe you are shifting from referrals to speaking. This is normal to be in this stage, but you want to know that you're there and you want to be actively working to move out of it, because this is what creates inconsistent results. This is what creates the situation where you're comparing, should I go back to corporate? Should I stay in my business? Is the grass greener on the other side, right? We waste so much time here wondering if this is going to work and waiting for evidence that it is, versus getting ourselves into ultimately an inevitability mindset that makes your success possible, that drives so much more of a confident, certain approach. So we want to move from doubtful, that's the first belief stage, into hopeful. You can ultimately skip from doubtful to inevitable, but most of us move from doubtful to hopeful. I hope this works. We go from doubtful, I'm not sure this will work for me, to hopeful, I hope this works. It looks like effort. You set goals, but you don't really fully take responsibility for them. I can't tell you the number of times I talk with consultants and I ask them, hey, remind me what your goal is. And they literally don't remember. They have to go look it up on some Google Doc in their or Word doc in their computer. They don't remember their goal. I've done this too in the past. You set a goal, but you don't really commit to it because you don't believe it's possible. It's like a hopeful strategy. At the startup that I helped build in corporate, we had a banner on the wall, hope is not a strategy. Your success feels possible, but out of your control. And a lot of the action you're taking is reactive. Because the reason why you take action, for example, as soon as a potential client, you find a potential client, you jump all over it. You get excited, you start working on that lead, you start leading them to a proposal. But up until that point, you're very reactive. And the reason why is because of this hopeful stage, right? We want to see some sign of life before we commit to it, before we dig into it, before we're willing to pursue it, because we're hopeful versus creating it ourselves and in our mind, setting ourselves up for feeling disappointed. So this is very common that we, in this hopeful stage, that action is very reactive because we're waiting for something else to give us a sign that this could work and not doing it up for ourselves. Most plateaus consultants are stuck at this hopeful stage, thinking they need a better strategy, thinking like eventually I'm going to succeed, but not realizing that their belief and the way they're thinking about their business, the way they're thinking about their goals, the way they're thinking about these examples I'm going to share with you in a minute, that's what's creating the ceiling. And then, so we've talked about the doubtful stage, the hopeful stage, and then the inevitable stage. This is where you want to get to. It sounds like this is happening and I'm figuring out how, not whether it's going to happen. This is happening this year, not eventually. That's a hopeful thought process, right? Eventually I'll get to 500,000. That's a hopeful thought process. I'm figuring out how to get to 500,000 this year. It's happening this year. When you're in this inevitable belief stage, you don't question if success will happen. You take bolder action. You trust yourself more. You don't have to wait for some evidence to show you that it will work. And you stay committed to making it work, even when the progress isn't immediately visible. You control achieving your results, regardless of any external circumstance. You fully believe that you will be successful in a certain time frame, a quarter, half a year at most, and that you have full control over making that happen. That's what an inevitability mindset is. You don't have to wait on any evidence, anyone else to tell you that it's going to work. You know that you will make it work, and you know you can make it work in the short term. That's an inevitability mindset. That's what helps you to achieve your goals. And that's the way that consultants who hit their numbers think. They don't think in that hopeless, or they don't think in that doubtful or hopeful stage. They think from an inevitability mindset most of the time. And when they don't have that mindset, they have a process to get themselves back into that mindset. So now that you know the foundational key to hitting your numbers, I want to ask you, which stage do you think you're in? When you think about your business overall, are you doubtful, hopeful, or inevitable? When you think about the likelihood of hitting your goals this quarter or this year, are you hopeful, doubtful, hopeful, inevitable? When you think about your ability to sell the type of work you want to do, are you doubtful, hopeful, inevitable? When you think about the ability to land work on your own without relying on word of mouth or waiting on word of mouth, are you doubtful, hopeful, inevitable? When you think about your ability to charge more or change your pricing model, are you doubtful, hopeful, inevitable? Those are some of the examples of areas where you want to be thinking about your business and the way you're thinking and assessing that to figure out where your gaps are so that you can fill those in and address them. Again, this is the foundational piece for you to really understand where it is that you have soft spots and can take control of the way you're thinking in order to set yourself up to be successful in whatever goals you're choosing to set, whatever type of work you want to be landing, how you want to be landing that work, what you want to be charging. This is the first step in all of that, is figuring out where your mindset is and then addressing it over and over again until you get to that inevitable mindset most of the time. And I'll tell you how to do this. It doesn't involve hours of journaling. It doesn't involve spending a bunch of wasted time. What it comes down to is some very practical steps, and I'll give you an example of those here in a moment. But let's talk about this. Is it a nice to have? I used to think that this type of mindset work was a nice to have, was something I would do when I had extra time on my hands or wanted to sit, outside on my patio with a cup of coffee on a Sunday morning. But it was not part of a business, running a business or a business routine. That serious people who are running serious businesses don't spend time like that. They spend time taking action. But I will tell you, you can spend all the time you want taking action. I know I certainly have. But when you are operating it off of a thought process that's doubtful or hopeful, it's going to be watered down. It's going to be diluted. It's going to be like you're spinning your wheels, and it takes so much more effort to accomplish what you want to be accomplishing when you don't get yourself into an inevitable mindset first. So, what I want to share with you now are 3 examples so that you can see how to do this, how to get yourself into an inevitable mindset most of the time in a very practical way as part of your routine, as part of the way you run your business. So, let's start off with the first example, which is goal setting. Sarah. So, Sarah had set a goal, a stretch goal, from a very hopeful place, let's say, 500K. She was definitely hopeful in the sense of it felt out of reach, that 500K goal. I think at the time she was maybe at 250, 225, 250, something like that. So it felt like a very stretch goal for her, felt out of reach. But then we broke it down into 125K quarters. So that felt a little bit better than 500K, right? I want to generate 125K per quarter. That felt for her a little bit more within reach, but still beyond what she thought was possible for her. Doubtful, right? Doubtful, hopeful, maybe. And then we broke it down into 50K months. And that's the point at which it felt much more doable for her. The math still, that's actually more than 500K when you think about 50K months, but it's a nice round number and it gives a couple months buffer, right? And so for her, she told me this feels much more doable. And also, it gave her 12 opportunities. 12 opportunities, right? Versus 1 opportunity over the course of the year to hit 500K. Now, when you set a goal of 50K per month, it's much more doable, 12 chances to hit that. And so, in order to make this an inevitable goal rather than a doubtful or hopeful goal, she did 2 things. She first implemented what I call the inevitability thought plan. And the thought process for her was not, I'll give this a try and see what happens. I think by default, she thought that way, or I'll try, but I don't think it's possible. That's a default way that most of us would think when we set a goal that's doubling our revenue, right? But instead, she redirected that to, I'm capable of 50K months. It's possible I'm capable of 50K months. I only need a handful of clients to hit my numbers. We break everything down into these tangible, more immediate, milestone type goals. It helps to shine the light on, we aren't going out there to land 1,000 clients, right? We're just looking for a handful of clients that will pay the pricing we want to charge, that are ideal clients with the nature of work we want to hit. And it's possible to hit those 50K months. And those were the type of thought processes she had that created an inevitability mindset for her. Like, I know this is my new norm. I'm creating my new norm. And then I told you she did 2 things, right? First, we have this inevitability mindset. This is the operating system that she put in place to start tackling those 50K months. And then she took action from that headspace. And she did it in a way that was very experimental. So often we think of our business as pass or fail, as either I'm going to try this, I need to put something in place that's going to work. Because if it doesn't work, it's a failure. And if I fail, then there's reputational risk. But instead for her, she decided to tackle this as experiments. She started testing out different foot in the door offers. She started testing out ways to shorten the time to revenue for her, her sales process. She's started testing out ways to land new clients that she had never worked with before and that weren't in her immediate network. She was experimenting to create these 50K months. And she started hitting them. She created 150K month and then had a couple of lower months, then 2 in a row, then 10 in a row. She hit her number and got herself to 625K as her run rate. So this is an example for you of what it sounds like to not be in that inevitability mindset, how to purposefully create an inevitability mindset. And alongside the actions that you're taking, they go hand in hand. You want to operate your actions in a mindset that's aligned to the goals that you're working to achieve rather than one where I like to call it the prove it to me mindset. The prove it to me mindset is you telling your business that it needs to show you that it's going to work, show you that you can hit 50K months, for example. That's not the job of your business. Your job is to show your business that you can hit 50K months and how you're going to do it. Not, oh, you prove it to me first, as if the business is another person. And so many of us operate that way, right? And we do it because we're human and we don't want to be disappointed. So we say, first, you show me that you can generate 50K months and then I'll believe it. Then I can stand behind it. Versus, you know what? I'm going to go first. I'm the business owner. I'm the leader. I'm going to show us being all the roles that you wear, all the hats that you wear in your business. I'm going to show us how we do it and how we make this our new norm. That's your job. It's not the job of anyone else to prove to you this is possible. This is your job. Okay. Example number 2, the pipeline. This is Colin. He relied on word of mouth, as many of us do, right? He took whatever came to him. He made it work. He figured out how to logic his way into accepting these engagements that he wasn't exactly thrilled about, that were not paying what he wanted to pay in alignment with his revenue goals, but were close enough. That's how he was running his business and how many of us do. But it was very from a doubtful place, right? He felt the pipeline was out of his control. He thought he was at the mercy of the markets. He would often talk about, well, clients don't have the budgets right now. They're not willing to engage external consultants right now. If they engage anyone, it's a company like McKinsey or Deloitte or E&Y or Accenture, because they can always blame them later when things go wrong. They're not going to hiring independents feels too risky. We've all thought these things at different times. So from that doubtful headspace, he would network, but inconsistently. He would attend events, but in more of a delegate mode than in a BD mode. He would constantly question if what he was doing was a good use of his time. And so the fix to this wasn't a better lead gen strategy. The fix to this for Colin wasn't getting his calendar in order. The fix to Colin wasn't getting a better routine. Of course, those things all came into play, but first and foremost, what he had to do was work on his inevitability mindset. And the inevitability mindset, coupled with more consistent action more of the time, is what led him to experiment until he figured out the lead gen routine that worked for him, which ultimately was speaking a couple of times per quarter and talking to 3 people a week. But it was fueled by a thought process that this is working. I can uncover 1 lead a week. It's possible I'll find a way to fill my pipeline and keep it filled. Moving from it's possible to I will find a way. I am finding a way. I have found a way to get meetings with my dream clients. That thought process, coupled with the actions that he was taking, which in some ways were very similar to the actions he was taking before when his pipeline wasn't working, right? He was still attending events, but from a different headspace, not delegate mode, business development mode. I came here, I will uncover leads. I will hit my numbers this week versus I hope I meet the right people. I hope I can uncover a lead while I'm there. I hope my investment in going to this event is worth it. No, it's shifting into that inevitable headspace. So he was doing a lot of the same actions, but from a different way of thinking and therefore getting the same results. And because he had that different way of thinking, it also unlocked for him the ability to raise his hand and feel more like an expert and pursue those speaking opportunities, for example. So that gives you another example of what it looks like to practically put this inevitability mindset into place, what it sounds like, and why it creates a difference in the results that you're going after, that you're pursuing. Okay, the third example here, and this is Amy. She wanted to increase her pricing. Might be in that spot right now too. You want to increase your pricing. Maybe you've been undercharging for a long time, or maybe you, like Amy, have been charging a day rate, a little bit of project-based, but mostly day rates. And you want to move into more value-based pricing. You want to increase the amount you're charging. But like Amy, she had a lot of doubt-ridden thoughts, those thoughts that go in that doubt column. She thought things like clients don't have the money. They could pay an FTE around the same amount or less than what I do. So why wouldn't they hire the full-time resource and get all of their time instead of just some of their time? She constantly talked herself out of increasing rates or shifting pricing. The way she was pricing, like moving from day rates to more value-based pricing. It all came from a doubt-driven mindset. And so for her to shift out her pricing model and the way she was charging and how much she was charging, it wasn't a matter of willpower or kind of gutting through it. Instead, she focused on these two things that we've been talking about, right? First, getting into an inevitability mindset. And when it would drop off, she would go back and do that again and again and again until it felt like the new norm most of the time. We're not a robot. I'm not saying to you, you need to have an inevitability mindset all of the time. Otherwise, you won't hit your goals. That's not the case, but you want to be there most of the time. And you want to notice when you're not there so you can redirect yourself. And that's what Amy did. She started thinking, I'll find the right clients who will pay what I want to charge, rather than worrying about how does she maneuver the clients that aren't even close to what she wants to pay, and accepting, kind of coming to a common ground. She started remembering all pricing is made up. Literally, all pricing is made up. So why not make it up in the way that best serves what her goals and is representative of the value that the clients are receiving? Her other thought process, I can find 5 to 6 clients a year who will agree to my pricing, will be happy to pay my pricing. Another thought she had, the value I deliver is 10x what I'm charging. Getting herself into the headspace of there's so much value in what I'm delivering that what I'm charging is a no-brainer. Those are examples of her inevitability mindset. And so from that mindset, she focused on higher quality leads, working on uncovering higher quality leads, both inbound and outbound, so that she had a stronger set of opportunities to offer her what she wanted to do from a consulting perspective, the type of work, and also her pricing. She added a foot in the door offer to shorten her sales cycle and start off relationships based on what that engagement looked like and the value of it versus how much time it was taking her to deliver. She tightened up the results that she was describing and communicating, and outcomes that she was articulating to her potential clients. But all of this was fueled by just simply 10 minutes a day working on her inevitability mindset. And I'll give you an example of what that actually means here in a second, beyond the thought processes I've shared with you. So 10 minutes a day, starting off the day, working on her inevitability mindset, and then ad hoc throughout the day before she got on a sales call, for example, or before she got on a discovery call, she would have these thought processes on a sticky note, literally on her computer, so that she would remind herself how she wanted to think on purpose going into these calls. So she would be in an inevitability mindset rather than a hopeful or a doubtful headspace. So that gives you 3 examples of what this looks like to put an inevitability belief system in place, inevitability-based belief system in place for you in your business at a macro level and a micro level in your business. And this is the difference between those consultants who hit their numbers and those who don't. The ones who aren't hitting their numbers or not hitting them consistently are the ones who are in a doubtful space, in a hopeful space, waiting on their business to show to them that they can hit the numbers before they really believe it. And for you, you want to get into that inevitability headspace most of the time. So I'll give you a couple of guiding questions, 3 guiding questions you can start leveraging to start putting a practice in place for your inevitability mindset. And of course, you can leverage that business brain journal I shared with you as well. So here are the 3 specific questions for your inevitability test. The first one is, when you say out loud your revenue number, for example, or any goal that you have, what does it sound like? You could even record it on your, like a voice memo and say it out loud. I do this a lot when I'm recording videos. I think it's really strong and clear, and then I go back and listen to it. It sounds doubtful. So for you, do a voice memo, state your goal. And what does it sound like? Does it sound, I hope to hit it? Does it sound, we'll see if I hit it? Or does it sound certain and clear and inevitable, I'm making this happen? That's your first part of your inevitability test. The second part, how do you speak with other people about your goals? Does it talk about something that's far in the future as something you're building, or perhaps you're trying, or you hope it will happen? But when you're speaking maybe to your spouse or a partner or a friend or another independent consultant or your coach, if you have one, when you're speaking about one of your goals, does it sound, are you describing it in a way that this is inevitable? I will be hitting this and I'll be hitting it this year. I'll be hitting it this quarter, versus it's something you're trying. And then the third part of your inevitability test is the question, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that you'll hit your goal, whatever it is, this quarter? Put a time frame around it. And then why? Why is it that number? And what would make it a 10? Those 3 questions are your inevitability test to continue checking your mindset until you get that inevitability around your goal. Whatever that goal is, whether it's your macro goal for the year, whether it's a goal for the month, whether it's a goal of what you want in your pipeline, whether it's a goal of the nature of work you want to be landing. Those are the examples of what you would be leveraging for your inevitability tests to create that inevitability, unshakable, unstoppable mindset that's critical to be the foundation of the way that you're driving and running your business and leading yourself in your business. So as we wrap this episode up today, I encourage you to go put this into action. Go take that test for yourself, that inevitability test, and add inevitability thinking into your business owner thinking time, into your business owner thinking time routine. What routine do you have for sitting down and thinking like a business owner? Sitting down and thinking like the CEO that you are, the CMO that you are, the CRO, thinking about all those different roles that you play as a leader in your business. Add this inevitability tool and those tests to your process. And then you can go grab the Business Brain Journal at growthatlas.solutions, and we'll put that link in the show notes as well. All right, go make an inevitability mindset for yourself, and I will see you again next week. Take care.
Thanks for joining me this week on the Grow Your Independent Consulting Business podcast. If you liked today's episode, I have 3 quick next steps for you. First, click subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to make sure you don't miss future episodes. Next, leave me a review in your podcast app so other independent consultants can find and benefit too. And finally, to put the ideas from today's episode into action, head over to melisaliberman.com for the show notes and more resources to help you grow your consulting practice from your first few projects into a full-fledged business. See you next week.